Levine, and he was asking, what is the problem for reform going to be? Is there a risk, he says, of a key man risk of over reliance on Nigel Farage, and will voters back the party? And he goes on to say, Nigel Farage is known for being a brilliant political founder, but he hasn't been able to build a lasting political party to kind of get into government in the past. What's different this time? Well, Levine, I would say that in the past, the key thing to understand about UKIP and then the Brexit Party is they were pressure groups. They were pressure groups to achieve single issue goals. The Brexit Party was very much in the same vein, was about shifting the dial and getting Brexit done by getting Theresa May out in those European elections. UKIP was never going to be a catch-all national party, and from the very beginnings, and Farage did not have complete control over it. It was always going to be a kind of more of a pressure group than a political party, and he always had to contend with very much an activist base that was very set in its ways. Reform is much more malleable. It's much more structured in the way Farage has wanted to set it up, and he's slowly but surely building the right team. You can see some really talented people. I mean, you've got Zia Youssef, who is an absolute gem of a find in terms of the work he's doing. Fantastic communicator, really committed to the mission, smart as a whip. So he's great. You've got people like Richard Tice. There would be no reform without Richard Tice. He kept us going through really difficult times, kept the party intact and operational at least as a concept party. And he's don't do him down. He built the party up in some polls to around 12% before Nigel Farage came back. He did some great work. And I will always acknowledge that others like Ben Habib at that point in time also played a role in that. So never deny that he did his bit as well. And of course David Bull, the chairman, former NHS doctor turned TV presenter, a really good communicator. He's the chairman now. I think he's doing a pretty good job. And then you've got new talents coming through, people like Layla Cunningham, new to the scene. Fantastic earlier this week, taking on Barry Gardiner on television. Amazing work being done through the Britain is Lawless campaign by Layla. Sarah Pochin, our new MP. There are new talents emerging. We also have old talents, people like Colin Sutton, really famous retired detective, really respected, coming forward to be the new policing advisor. So there's a good combination of old and new, and perhaps something borrowed and something blue in one or two cases in terms of some of the defectors coming through. But yeah, I'm very optimistic actually that Farage is building a team. And one of the things that I think that is good is that he's talking about he wants to build a strong executive at the top. He wants to bring in people who are really talented and committed. He doesn't need them all to be career politicians. He doesn't want them all to be MPs. He's going to bring in people who he accepts are going to be there for a time limited period in his cabinet or on his front bench working on very specific issues. And they don't want all the Westminster psychodrama, the power maximization. They just want to focus on getting what they want done. And that's good. So yeah, I'm actually quietly encouraged that Farage can build a team. Now, am I saying that there's never going to be any sparks, never any drama? Am I saying that Farage, is absolutely perfect? Of course not. Farage is a politician. He's a human being. He's as fallible as anybody else, and perhaps there will be personality clashes over time. There will be turf battles, as in any political party, sure. But I think he can get there, and at the moment, yes. If Nigel Farage, if God forbid, he toppled over with a heart attack and he was laid up for months, reform would have a hit. Absolutely, it would have an impact on our public level of support. But I don't think it would finish the party off. And I think in a couple of years' time, reform will, and I mean this in the best sense of the word, will really be able to hold its own and step out of Nigel's shadow. It will be a fully functioning, vibrant party. But I want Nigel to be our leader for many years to come, and to be the first reform prime minister. Don't get me wrong, but I think all parties outgrow their founder if they're going to be successful. And I think that reform will has the potential to do just that. So yeah.